Scary situation for the Miami Dolphins last night, Thursday Night Football, Bills-Dolphins. Bills look great, by the way. That'll be the side story to all of the conversation throughout the course of the day.
I don't know if I say great. I don't know. I say, but they look like the Bills.
Hey, short week on the road. That's a damn good performance, if you ask me.
They got outgained. They didn't have close to time of possession. The only thing that really led them to that score looking like that was turnovers.
Yeah.
And look, here's the headline of that game. That was a game that was set up for Miami to win. For a lot of the reasons you just mentioned. Short week, at home. They were without Teron Johnson. They don't have Matt Milano. Like, if not now, then when? And Josh Allen has owned the Miami Dolphins. Over the 13 starts he's had against them, he's had, I think he averages about 325 total yards of offense per game. Like, think about that. That's like, we always used to go back and look at Aaron Rodgers, how he owned Chicago because he would always beat Chicago. He wasn't putting up stats like that. And at least during the span with Tua being there, I think they were 1-6 now, 1-7 before that game. I mean, if you want to talk about a player owning a team, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, have owned the Miami Dolphins, and that was quite possibly the worst possible outcome for all parties involved for the Dolphins side, with not only taking that loss the way you did, Tua playing the way he did before the injury, and then having that injury that we're all scared about for him because we know they have no shot without him, and now that's the sort of injury that if he has one more, his career might be over.
Yeah, man.
That's what I was going to... Now, Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, did speak afterwards in talking about his feelings on the entire situation. Let's take a listen.
For me, I'm not worried about anything that's out of my hands in terms of... I'm just worried about the human being, and, you know, he'll drive the ship when we get the appropriate information, but it's day-by-day health. I don't approach things that I'm far inferior of expertise. I'm just there to support my teammate, like I said. And I think for me to go ahead and forecast things that I don't know in my non-field of expertise, I don't think that's appropriate. I think we'll find out some more information tomorrow in terms of where Tua's at. He'll be able to spend a good amount of time being evaluated, and then we'll have conversations and progress as appropriate.
So this was my thought on it, because I saw immediately people throughout he should consider retiring. He's made his money. Why risk it? You know, based on the history with concussions, all that stuff that we've seen. And to me, it comes down like there's two people that make that decision. It's the doctors and it's Tua. And if he's cleared and he passes concussion protocol and that testing is up to snuff and they feel like he's got a clean bill of health, I have no issue with him going back in there. I think anybody could run the risk of getting a concussion, and I know he's got a history of it, but if they feel like he's clear, then I think he should be allowed to go in and play if he chooses to. But I think there's going to be people that will look at him with a side eye and think, this is reckless, we can't do this, when really it feels like anybody could get a concussion at any point in time, but the way that his had played out. Yeah.
They do get concussions. Guys get concussions. I mean, people get concussed. The only difference here is we've seen it play out with Tua in a way that it's scary. It's a scary thing when you see Tua get a concussion after seeing the history of it. I know, Al Michaels took some heat for what he had to say about the play that took place because it was Damar Hamlin that actually hit him, which I agree with Al Michaels. I mean, it was like kind of a...
It's ironic.
Yeah, it was. I mean, man. But to that point, listen, whatever it is that Tua decides to do, it certainly has to be a doctor's expertise in saying what he should do first. That's first and foremost. You got to have the information first before you make the decision. Otherwise, it's a foolish decision. You don't want to risk your life. I don't care if you made the money or not. If you need to walk away from the game based upon the prognosis of what your health long term will be, then that's what you need to do. And that's case closed. But like you said, if he is given that bill of health and he is cleared, then that's no one's right to tell him what they think he should do or judge him. I mean, that's what people do anyway. They're going to judge you, and they're going to have something to say. The man made an athletic move to try to get to the end zone to try to help his team win. Unfortunately, he got hit. And that's something that I would say, and Q, you tell me if I'm wrong on this one, and maybe I am, but he has to know he cannot take any hits. Like, to me, the bottom line is don't put yourself in harm's way that way.
So
no way, no how.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know. You can't take hits like that. I would tell a regular quarterback, do not take hits like that. These are the type of hits you do not take. Now I'm telling Tua, bro, you know you are not supposed to take hits like that. Please do not risk yourself like that anymore. We'll live to fight another day. We'll live to fight another down. But do not take those types of hits. He's got to know that. He has to know that. That's just my opinion on it, though.
No, I know, and I think it's right. It's the right opinion. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking that watch the game and watch that play go, why did he go head first? Why did he need to go head first? I personally look back on it, and there's points and times when as a quarterback you will dive head first as opposed to sliding, and it's only because you get the advantage of the extra distance, meaning when you go to dive, even though you're kind of presenting yourself as down when you go and dive, the ball is going to be forward as opposed to when you slide and you kind of go to as your butt goes to hit the ground. Wherever the ball is, that's where they're going to end up marking it as you begin your slide because you're declaring yourself down. When you dive head first, it's kind of the opposite. You got to be almost tagged down because you don't get the same protections when you slide feet first as compared to when you dive head first. So they're trying to get quarterbacks to always slide to get that protection. But oftentimes when you're sliding, since your feet go down first, your upper body's exposed. And I've always talked to quarterbacks about this, you feel more vulnerable sliding feet first, even though you're protected. And if guys hit you, you're probably going to draw a flag. But more often than not, you end up getting hit in a way that could concuss you, could hurt you. So I understand why some guys don't like to do it. But that was an instance where he easily could have. And I don't really understand why he didn't because he had an opportunity to. Given his history and everything else, I'm not saying that he's going to have that in the back of his head, but he's got to reprogram and retrain himself to be in the moment, to be able to sit there and say, when I'm in this situation, I have to slide. I can't afford to put myself in the position where I might get knocked out again.
Did it seem also like DeMar Hamlin wasn't expecting him to come in like that? Because
it wasn't the type of hit that made you think he was going to knock a guy out.
It almost like he initiated the contact. It wasn't like DeMar Hamlin went up on him. Like Tua ran into him.
They ran into it was a collision.
Yeah, I wonder. Especially with his the discussion surrounding him and how that played out. And look, the one that played out was also on Thursday Night Football. That was against the Bengals. So it's the fact that these have also taken place on a standalone stage, and you've seen all these discussions and conversations being had. I just wonder, look, is it possible that he gets cleared in the next few days to play next week? And then what does the conversation like that turn into for the Dolphins?
Can we go back to the tackle before, and I'll let Q answer that, but it was a routine tackle. DeMar Hamlin came in. It wasn't totally head up. I'm going over it again right now. It was the contact to the side of his head. That's what did it. It was a routine tackle. And it was the contact of how DeMar Hamlin's maybe shoulder or arm and body at the same time impacted the side of Tua's head. I've seen it 100 times over. I've done it 100 times over. It's that temple. He hit him on his temple. And that was what, to me, 100%, that was the collision. That was the force that caused that concussion. So that it wasn't like it was DeMar didn't expect it or anything. Like, it was a routine tackle. It was a routine tackle with an angle. He made contact with Tua's head, and that was the contact point of why that happened. But go ahead, you answer that.
Well, my thought on it is, if they do the testing this week and he clears concussion protocol, and we've seen players get injured one week and get cleared for the next week before, but like, let's just do they have to almost mandatorily sit him at least a couple of games just from an optic standpoint? Because
probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Which now impacts the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think that's the one thing we know is, and it's funny because I've got people who are not the biggest Tua supporters or fans, even though they're Dolphins fans. And they look at that injury and they're like, oh, now I feel bad because I rag on him all the time. And I go, well, you should also feel bad because watch what happens to this team without him.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want about, Tua. And he did not play well last night. Of the 3 picks he threw, I would say 2 of them were for sure on him. One, he's trying to throw it away. He wasn't able to get it out of bounds. The other one, it looked like, it looked like the second one might have been either a miscommunication or he just got really confident in his ability to throw over the linebacker and before the cornerback. But, at that point, it looked like Robbie Chosen maybe should have pushed a little further if he was going to keep going. Whatever the case may be, I'm not sure if it was a miscommunication, so don't necessarily want to throw it on him, but it didn't look good either way. But he didn't play well, and he struggled versus the Bills. And that's the hard thing is, you see that and you go, oh, man, like you get frustrated with his level of play, but you have no shot if he's not in there as your quarterback. And that's the reality of what the Dolphins are faced now, especially coming off of a contract extension where you feel like you're invested, you're all in, you're behind this guy. Now you feel like he's one concussion away from maybe having to retire. And I know you're saying, Jonas, if he's cleared, if the doctors say he's cleared, at some point there's going to be a neurologist that looks at him and says, you've had enough of these that have been documented. I don't know how many that haven't been. It's probably now wise for you to continue to play the game of football. That conversation is going to start coming his way at some point.
Yeah.
That's going to be the hardest point. That is going to be the hardest aspect of first game out of the gate. First game out of the gate, this is what happens to you. Well, second game, right? Second game. That's, to me, that's what Tua's going to.
Sounded good, though.
Yeah.
Like the way you said it. Like
second game out.
Just recut it and say first Thursday game out of the gate.
First Thursday game out of the gate.
Great point.
And this, but here's the point, though. That is going to be and forget storylines, right? The storylines are storylines. They're going to write themselves. They're going to show themselves. This is something that this team is going to have to deal with every single time to it. Like, think about that. Like, let's put it in perspective. How many times did you have that feeling about one of your teammates, Q? Like, you're looking at your teammate going out there on the field, and you're like, man, this could be the game where my boy is done, like, forever. This is it for him. Like, if he gets hit the wrong way, this is it for him. How many times have you thought about that going into the game for one of your teammates in particular?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I can't think of any. I can't think of any.
There was one.
Okay, one.
Yeah.
Think about that. In the history of you playing that game or during your, I mean, for me, during my career, Mike Glazer in high school, I get like him, yeah, because he was a stone cold freak and he'll hit you, like he would straight up hit you, and he was too little and he always knocked his little ass out. So Mike Glazer, so I got one too. High school, Mike Glazer. What shouts out to you, Glosser?
What up, Glosser?
But that's it. So to put it in perspective, if you really are going out there and you're thinking about to yourself, man, Like, this could be it for my bro. Like, this could be the game. This could be the hit. Like, and you're always going to have that in the back of your mind with Tua. Now, like, maybe you've teetered on it before, but if you didn't teeter on it before, you are 100% on that boat now. And how do you go through a season that way? I mean, is it the offensive line? Because he was under duress. They were getting after him. They were making it uncomfortable for him. Is it the offensive line that they just turn into grown men and it's like no one will penetrate this line and harm our quarterback? No one. Like, what is it like? Is it the running game? They had a nice running game going. You know,
I think it's on him, man. That one's on him. Like, that was a scramble play, and there were options there, and he chose that one.
I mean, I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at you for saying that.